put out into the culture with some degree of trauma, maybe even complex PTSD, that makes it harder for you to get a job. So you're going to get paid maybe half of what someone who has a 1 or a 0 score on that gets. But in order to get well with your half salary, you're going to have to do 3 times the amount of therapy at 100 and something an hour to try and figure out what's going on. Because in our culture, I went through multiple schools. Not a single teacher ever said, who's being sexually abused at home? Raise a hand. Who's being bullied by an older brother? Who's is hit regularly by a drunken father? These things are not talked about. While 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds are going through them, they're terrified. Now, our homeless have higher ACE scores, is what they're called, than you and I. And, you know, once you're in that loop, whether it's, you know, you flashbacks and PTSD from Vietnam or whatever, once you're in that loop, you and I are less likely to hire them than someone else. But they need help more than someone else. And I fault the cultural design for that. Meaning, if we raise large numbers of people, many of them with a low IQ, in high traumatic, with high traumatic scores, and then we do not, like, did you ever learn how to work with your feelings at any point in your education?
I had prostate cancer, and I went to a men's group for that, and I found that very interesting. But no, I'm not the kind that wants to go talk about how sad I am or that kind of stuff.
But going through school, or your parents, did anyone teach you the science of feelings?
No.
See, because this is disturbing, because every human action is fueled by a feeling. Like, I want this, or I don't want that, or I'm scared of this, or I'm lusting for that, whatever it is, it's a feeling that's motivating. And if you go cradle to grave in our culture without a single hour of science-based feeling, that's a disability. Because your primary source for motivation is neglected in education.
Yeah, but I have no problem being motivated.
You don't.
So motivation is not lack of motivation is not my problem.
Right.
And so if feelings would help my motivation more, that'd be something, but I don't know that it would. That'd be a good use of time.
I would say that the science says that your motivation in abundance that isn't clear has an emotional foundation, that instinctively or intuitively, or just from being on a farm, you learned an unconscious pattern of motivating yourself.
Probably.
The problem is, for the millions and millions of Americans who weren't raised on a farm, they've gotten an incentive not to be highly motivated, but they haven't got any science to say, I've been given the misfortune of not being raised on a farm. I want to be like Fred, but I don't feel that way.
Yeah, but let me tell you, I don't know that being raised on a farm is an advantage, because it's a lonely experience for a kid. When you don't have friends and you don't have, you don't have that happy life that some kids have. You have chores and you have animals. And
but you have motivation.
You have motivation because the whole culture on the farm. Your dad, your mom, everybody works.
But my point is simply that whether it's from a farm or a ghetto or whatever, whether you're born in Thailand or the US, you learn an emotional culture unconsciously,
Yeah.
with its benefits and problems. Like, I would agree with you. I started my company when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
I've achieved thousands of goals.
Mm-hmm.
So most people would agree that I'm highly motivated.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm jumping at a chance to take time out of my day to do this.
Okay.
I'm motivated to do this. I'm motivated to do a lot of things. I also have felt lonely most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a kid, not being understood, being hit, you know, no one to talk to, this. But also, most people have not had anything like my life.
Yeah.
So who's going to understand what it's like to be me if they've not even come close to experiencing? Like, who's been raised by these types of people, lived in New York, then lived in England, then lived in Cyprus, been to this kind of school, then that kind of school, then tried this, then done that, then started the business here. I mean, no one's lived my life.
No, that's right. No.
And so, but I'm highly motivated for whatever, you know, for whatever reason. Mostly because when I was, I did homeschooling since I was 14.
Really? Uh-huh.
And I thought I should learn from successful people rather than unsuccessful people.
Sure. Yeah.
So I read the biography of Bill Gates.
Mm-hmm.
I read the biography of John D. Rockefeller. I read the biography of Henry Ford Sr., the founder of Ford. I read the biography of Steve Jobs. I read the biographies of successful companies. And one of the things that emerged out of all that was having clearly written goals is important to success.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll do it. I wrote yearly goals, quarterly goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, and daily goals.
Okay.
I reviewed them daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and
Yeah.
yearly.
Yeah.
And I noticed my productivity went up 400%.
Okay.
And so that led me to start my business at 17.
What's the most employees you had?
I think 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I've always disenjoyed 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that almost everyone I hire, I would say 99%, I've hired about 200 people and tried out. 95 or more percent of the people are 2 to 3 times less efficient than I am.
Okay.
I don't enjoy that. I also don't enjoy the endless micromanaging to try and push that up.
No, yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, and that's what I deal with.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a huge relief to only have 3. I mean, 3 is great.
Yeah.
If I can get 3 people that I like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll put up with 40% inefficiency, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And
the saddest time that I had was about a 20-year stretch where I had about 100 people. I hated it. I'm down to less than a dozen now. I love it. but you know, I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to get going because I've still got a girlfriend at home that wants to see me on a Saturday night.
Is there anything that you want to add in the next 4 minutes about the homeless thing that would bring insight that I've only been in Marin 15 years.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that if there was a desire to eliminate the homeless, and I don't know that there is, but if there was one, it might be to follow the Chinese model, if that in fact is true in and of itself. But if it is, why not try it? Mm-hmm. And if it isn't, well, I'm sorry for pretending like it was, because I don't know.
Yeah. 1 to 10, how much does it affect you whether there's thousands of homeless in Marin or not?
It only affects me to the extent that I can't find good people. I can't find them. I've got 2 trucks that are parked right now because I haven't got the right driver for him. And I'd rather have, I've done this before. Just get a driver. If he's been driving for 5 years and he's got the right license, let him drive. Yeah, well, then you get what I met you about, a scratch driveway.
Yeah.
And then I get a truck tipped over today almost.
Yeah.
And then I get, I get all these things which make it not worth it.
Exactly right.
And what we used to find in the demolition, we were doing about 1,000 jobs a year. And just the law of numbers, the Peter Principle or Murphy's Law or whatever you want to call it, about 90% of those were profitable and 5% were maybe terrible, and the other 5% you didn't get paid for. So in the end, is it worth doing a lot of volume like that? It's not.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute now. It is worth it if you're a gelati. Gelatis, they're all the same. They're all good friends of mine. And Raymond is a little bit like this. Raymond's a little guy that's got a big temper. His dad taught him that, and his dad was a great guy, Chuck. But he's a tough little guy, and he likes to throw his weight around. He likes to yell and scream and push and shove and all that kind of stuff. I don't.
I know either.
Yeah.
And I do one job
Yeah.
with full attention
Yeah.
until complete in the order it was contracted, period.
Yeah.
I just turned down a $90,000 job because they were in a hurry, and also the wife was giving me a different story than the husband. That's always hard.
Yeah.
And I said I'm not going to do the job immediately anyway,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to do it unless you both meet me at the same time and get on the same page.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be tossed back and forth between
Whiplash, yeah.
And instead of sitting down and meeting with me, she sent me an angry rant, and I said, well,
Okay.
good luck with someone else.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with one job, even my 3 employees. It's annoying to get to the job site. It's like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. And then they started fighting, and then they started, yeah.
Well, I'm very lucky. Jen is my new foreman.
Jen was the lady who was there?
Yeah, she's my wife.
Yeah, okay.
And she's learning faster than most people.
Mm-hmm.
And she's more honest and reliable. I mean, you saw how small she is.
Yeah.
So you'd think she's a bit terrible landscaper.
Yeah.
Well, I'd way rather hire her, and I pay her exactly the way I would pay anyone else, just based on results and stuff. She's incredible because, she'll send me a video like, what's the situation here? What should we do?
Yeah.
Rather than just thinking they know what to do, and so I feel very lucky she's a wonderful person, and so.
What nationality is she?
She's Filipino.
Filipino. Well, there's another very good culture.
Yeah.
Very good culture. We had Filipinos take care of my mother when she got sick, and God, they were saints.
I know.
Saints, absolute saints. Well, why don't me just tell you a quick story, and then I got to really get going.
Yeah.
But my sister met this Filipino lady when my mother got dementia, and she met her in church, and so the Filipino lady was taking care of my mother for a while, then she had to go back or whatever, and so she brought another person, and the other person was wonderful. And my mother had a caregiver for probably 8 years before she passed, but one of the caregivers, wonderful person, my great grandmother's, I don't know how many carat ring it was, but probably 40 grand or so. A very expensive wedding ring. It was handed down. It's missing. And so my sister called, and she wanted to get my two sisters, my brother. She wanted to get all this together, because what are we going to do about this? I mean, you can't blame the guy. He probably had no money in the Philippines. And this is a big, tremendous opportunity for him. So are we going to forgive him, or are we going to fire him, or are we going to turn him into immigration, or what are we going to do? And I said, well, our mother is attached to him, so we shouldn't just fight. We shouldn't turn him into immigration. Maybe we even shouldn't fire him. Maybe what we should do is just take everything else that he could take and take it away so he can't take it, and then let him stay. And not even tell him that we know or suspect him. Because my mother didn't have that much longer to go anyway. So that's what they agreed to do. And it wasn't probably 6 months or so later that he called, and he says, "I found this ring." "Where did you find the ring?" "It was in the shoebox in the top of the closet. My mother, with her slippers that she wore, my mother, she wasn't thinking anymore. So she took her slippers off, and she took the shoebox down, she put the slippers in the shoebox and put her ring in the shoebox instead of putting it in the drawer, and put it back up on top. And here we would have persecuted this guy, and the guy's a saint. Mm-hmm. I mean, he knew what it was, and he told us about it. And you know, he had to suspect, and I don't know, he would have no way of suspecting that when we took all the jewelry out, it was because of him. He wouldn't know that because we wanted to keep him. Yeah, so wonderful people.
Yeah.
Wonderful people.
Yeah.
So I better get going. I got to find out the guy that almost tipped the box over, whether he's okay, and that job got done, and now I got to get home.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you've been a great help with the trucks and stuff, and getting in touch with Darcy, and I'm still going to call the Bobcat guy.
Yeah, but now Darcy's, okay, if he's got, one kind of tailgate.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea. I think we should go down rather than
But
up.
but that's a different kind of tailgate than what he has, if he has the kind that goes up.
Right. Well, he has two trucks. I'm going to ask him if one of them leaves.
If the tailgate will flip down, yeah.
Yeah.
And what they generally have is they generally have a chain on the tailgate,
Yeah.
and a place on the side to let it down.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I'd forgotten about that because I haven't dealt with big trucks in the last few years.
Yeah.
And so that's a good approach.
But now the problem is, you are going to have to lift it out because
Yeah, I will.
because
That's easy.
Okay. Yeah.
That's easy.